where it says focus. So this is another tool to kind of help you identify your mission and, really hone in on what it is that what's the gap that your business is filling, right? So what problem do you solve best? Where this is, and again, we're not going to do this today, but you can take this home. And then who is struggling with this problem? Where are they? What's this gap that you're going to be who's the person that has the gap that you're trying to fill? And then how are you going to reach them? And then what are your specific offerings? Okay, so that's just another helpful way to kind of, at least for my head, to kind of break it down into what it is that and how I'm going to grow, right? So being organically certified was a big deal for us in terms of, our chickens, our eggs, our vegetables. A little bit harder to do with our honey. We didn't do it, but that's certainly something that we were shooting for. Okay. All right, the next section is your objectives. So right now you've got your vision, you've got your mission statement. It's like why and who and what and how. And now it's going to be what are the goals that we have to do in order to reach and fulfill our mission and our vision. So that's what we're going to be working on now. All right, so what business results are going to be measured? And essentially what these will help you do is you provide a no kidding quantitative aspect, right? Because you're going to talk about timelines and we're going to do SMART goals. So we'll just go ahead and get into it. You can define a measure of effectiveness, a measure of success, like what you're going to define what success looks like, for that goal so that, you've reached that goal and then how that goal is going to apply and eventually result in you meeting your mission and fulfilling your vision. Okay, start slideshow. So here's just some people say why I want to start. You guys have all kind of talked about why you want to start your own business. You want to help other people. You want to talk to help moms with their families. That there's certainly some health aspects to growing it. There's some safety aspects to you growing your own food and providing it to your community. I haven't heard many people say this, and I often hear this, like, I don't really want to hang around people. And that works out good if you're not selling at a farmer's market. So I will tell you right now, if any of you haven't worked at a farmer's market, you're going to meet all kinds of people there. And there are times when you have to, just be very, very flexible. People have their own opinions. They have their own opinions about you, about the food that you grow, even if they don't know you. And so, I mean, for the most part, 99% of the time, it's super positive and fun, and you can educate people and you can show them recipes and teach them how to use different types of foods that they might not be familiar with. But there's always that 1%, people who are going to like snatch blueberries out of a pint that was meant for to sell to somebody that wasn't samples, and then go, ooh, this is not what I wanted, or something like that. So that's very frustrating. But a lot of people want more family time. Like I kind of alluded to before, farming doesn't super contribute to being able to spend a lot of time away from the farm because you have to work the farm. So you want to make sure you've got those values and having your farm, meet those values in the best way possible. Now, how many of you would say, I want to start my business because I want to earn 17 cents an hour growing specialty vegetables, or I want to hide the cost of this business from my spouse, or I want more conflict with my teenage children who never bought into this farm idea? I don't think any of you really set that as a goal, nor as an objective, and none of those will get you to a sustainable farm, happy life. So what we want to try and do is just make sure that you're identifying what the goals are and help you, create a roadmap so that you are avoiding some of these things, because those are things that can happen if you're not paying attention. All right, so how many of you have heard about SMART goals before? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. I hope at this stage, most of us have heard that. If this is new to you, that's okay. But if it's new to you, that's good, because that means you don't have any bad habits of how you've set goals previously. A lot of people like, hey, what's a very famous goal at the beginning of the year is, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? Who says that? But if you aren't putting some very specific milestones in there, like I will, right? I don't want to, I will exercise and eat right in order to lose 1 pound a week for the next 10 weeks. That sounds a little more doable than just I just want to lose 10 pounds, right? And that also gives you something to shoot for every week. You're going to say, okay, I'm eating and I'm exercising right. Seeing a nutritionist, or I've looked up some proper ways to how to work what works best for my body. It gets more and more specific so that you can actually reach those goals, and that's the whole idea. So in farming, and Trisha, did you guys structure this kind of along the 5 F's of risk management? Not really. Okay. That's
No,
okay.
we changed that. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. But essentially, I guess I probably should have read how you guys did that before, but
We went over
going,
the 5 topics in the risk management guide. So we're,
okay.
yes.
Kind of fits along this line, right? So it's production, right? This is the farming, like what within each of these little risk management areas is where it's a good guideline for where you want to focus your specific goals within each of these areas. So you've got your production, right? Like how are you going to produce? Are you going to produce conventionally and use pesticides and all that stuff? And there's no judgment here. Or are you going to do organic? And I know it sounds kind of judgy the way that I'm saying it in my voice, but I'm really trying not to be judgy. I'm just, I think there's all kinds of different means of production. If you're really, really big scale, it's hard to go organic and that's super, super big scale. So, but that's a value and that's a choice that you make within your own business. Your finances, how much money do you need to make? And this is a very frank conversation that you have with all of your partners that are involved with the farm. You should know, and if you don't, that's kind of a homework assignment that I can never ever enforce nor judge nor correct. But as homework, you should understand what it is how much money it takes for your family to survive, or you, if you're just by yourself, how much does it take for you to survive each month? And if you're working in an off-farm job and that supplies that everything you make above your basic needs, is your profit and is your disposable income. So it's a good idea to understand if you want to transition from your off-farm job and make your farm the sole source of income for your family, you need to know what that number is. You need to know your number. You can't just guess and say, well, I can get by with only making $1,000 a month. Well, maybe if your expenses are $9,000 a month, you're going to need to make at least 9,000 just to survive. And then you want to make more if you want to save or send your kids to college or, whatever other goals you have to plan for that. And so don't be afraid of the numbers, embrace the numbers, love on the numbers, understand the numbers, and then get your farm or your business, to respect those numbers as well, and to earn those numbers. You want to think about the future. How are you going to sustain your farm? Who's going to take over when you're done? What is your exit strategy? And again, these are kind of uncomfortable things to think of at the very beginning of your journey. But you're not going to live forever. No one does. And your kids may not want to take over the farm, but maybe they will. So have those kind of thoughts and at least understand that future you exists at some point, and you want to have an idea of how you're going to either stay on the farm forever and transition it into family folklore, or you're going to sell it and move to a condo in New York City. That it's an option, right? Fitness, how are you both mentally and physically going to be able to continue to work on your farm? You all know that farming is a very physically intensive job, depending on and it really, it kind of depends on what kind of farming you do. I and I may speak out of turn, and so somebody please correct me, but I think microgreens might be a little bit on the less physically demanding side. I think you can do it a lot on tables and lights and don't have as much bending down. Working in the field, much harder. Building greenhouses and high tunnels, very hard. Putting up fencing, very hard. You can there's some machinery that can help, but the machinery costs money. So all these things that you want to continue to take care of. This is something that I don't hear as much about anymore, but certainly I think it's just because I'm a little further removed from the from the community, but mental health and the loneliness and the stress that can come on a farm is very, very high. And I think that the suicide rate among farmers is higher than we would imagine, and is higher than we obviously want it to be. I was doing some work with veterans and farmers and trying to, there's a lot of understanding about farmers and mental health, and there's a lot of, understanding, I don't know if we ever truly understand it, but research at least on veterans and mental health. But are very few research, really qualified research efforts to understand farmers and veterans together, right? So that could be a recipe for, even more challenges. So you just want to make sure that being aware of it, and acknowledging it, respecting it, and then moving forward with ways that we can make sure that we all stay healthy, whether you're a veteran only, farmer only, or a farmer veteran. And then also thinking about your community, right? This is a lot. I've heard a lot of you talk about how you're going to be supporting your community and how you want to be seen as a source of trust in your community, and people want to, people can come to you and ask questions and get some education about how their food is farmed, and how it's produced. And so that's a really, powerful, another little area that you want to make sure you're talking about what kind of goals you have within that realm. And then environmental, that kind of goes back to the, how you're going to do your production methods, I think. But there could be, something bigger in the environment that you want to address, with using your business as a platform for that. Okay. So one example of a goal, I'm going to have a vegetable farm. It's kind of I want to lose 10 pounds, on January 1st. So, but if you want to make it a SMART goal, you want to make it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Here's a better way of saying that. By December 1st of 2024, yeah, that's this year, right? I will have planted, harvested, and successfully sold 2 acres of mixed vegetables. All right, so that's a lot more specific. It's measurable because I can measure whether or not I planted, harvested, and successfully sold 2 acres of mixed vegetables. It's achievable. You can do that. You might need to. So this is where you start thinking, do I need to get some seasonal help or some employees to help me do that? Because 2 acres of mixed vegetables is actually a lot. So this is kind of that achievable thing. Relevant. Yeah, it's relevant to my overall goal. Like, I'm a farmer and my production goal is to be able to do this. It's relevant. Obviously, I'm not talking about going and creating race cars. I'm talking about growing mixed vegetables, and it's time bound. So it has every element of a good goal, to be able to understand and to measure and to keep checking yourself and like, okay, it's July. We've gotten through, I've actually done, an acre, and we've got another acre planted. Am I gonna meet that goal? Does anybody think of anything else that could be added to that? Okay, me neither. I think I've kind of alluded to this, but you got to make sure you're talking to everybody, that all the decision makers that are in your business. So who's involved? What are their wishes, right? I kind of alluded to the fact that my partner really wanted to grow Hubbard squash. And I didn't tell you this part, he didn't want to make kimchi, so that was a little point of contention with us because I ended up making all the kimchi. And that was a decision that I made and that we made together. Is like, he's like, I'll grow the Napa cabbage, but I don't really want to be in the kitchen making the kimchi. And so that became my job, and it was okay. But it was, could have been a point of contention if I had been expecting that he was going to be in there making the kimchi with me, which would have been erroneous on my part without even consulting with him. But when we did consult and we kind of figured out, what our lanes in the road were going to be, and he grew all the produce and I made the kimchi. And so that worked. But you need to be able to have those decisions. If it's just you, it's a lot easier, right? Because you don't have to kind of consult with any other decision makers. But if it's just you, it's just you. And that's a lot of extra work. So just kind of, and if that's okay, that's okay. You just got to be able to make those decisions deliberately. All right, so let's go through a few examples of within each of those things. And this is something that you guys are going to break off and do on your own. You don't, we can, yeah, we can spend some time just doing it on your own. I don't think we need to go into breakout rooms for this part. But essentially, so here's, just some ideas about what you could do for a production goal. If you want to get into beekeeping, right? By early spring, I'll take a beekeeping course and purchase all the equipment I need to harvest honey from 2 beehives by next fall. Again, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Human capital. This is, talking about your relationships with your partners or partner. I think having, an established weekly or even daily actual business talk, not just pillow talk, not just, chit chatting over making dinner, but like literally spending some time and being very deliberate about, hey, this is what we did, this is what we're going to do this week, this is what we did last week, and these are the things that we need to accomplish. And that's a really healthy way to kind of have that a goal, defined in that arena. Finances. I think you're going to touch on some of this throughout the Boots to Bushels course. The way that I designed it, we touched on it a little bit, but not enough, honestly. This is a whole other aspect of farming, of your enterprise budgeting. So if there's any other classes that you can take to kind of continue your education, that's not a bad idea. You could do one like, by November, I will research options and we'll have decided which bookkeeping method I'm going to be using for the next growing season. I'm just going to stop real quick and just kind of ask some questions here. Who uses QuickBooks for their financial stuff? Thanks, Michaela, who uses a spreadsheet? Okay, good job, you guys. Who has receipts in a shoebox that they hope they'll get to later? Who's not even keeping receipts and is just going, we'll figure it out? Okay, well, I think some of you said we just haven't started yet, so that's fine. But the point is, you got to do some record keeping. You're going to have to do record keeping with your finances. You're going to have to do record keeping with your growing, with your production, especially if you're going for organic certification. Every year you get audited on your organic certifying. So, okay, that's just my little plea. If you, one of the organizations that helps farmers out a lot for free is SCORE. Do you guys have SCORE in Rhode Island? Okay, good. And I know they're very active in Maine. They often give free QuickBooks classes for farmers. So, free QuickBooks classes. I'm not sure if it's always for farmers, but
just so the class is aware, we did reach out to SCORE regarding Boots to Bushels. So if you reach out to them and let them know that you're part of Boots to Bushels, they should know about you.
Brilliant. Yeah, they're a great resource. They have several mentors that have been in business. They have to have a resume of having been in business or run businesses, and they will work with you for free as a business mentor. So you can share your business plan with them, ask them, how do I set up my legal entity? What legal entity should I sign up with? All that kind of stuff. So they're a great resource. Okay. That was our little side note for the day. Obtaining loans, labor management. Okay, good. Future. You can talk about sustainability, in your future. What do you want your farm to look like? Or you can talk about expanding or exiting the business. Your fitness, something as simple as just having it written down, you guys. There's some study from Harvard that talks about people who actually write their goals down are 95% more likely to actually achieve them. I should probably look up that stat so I can say it with more confidence, but the bottom line is, like, actually writing them down helps you actually actually reach your goal. And a lot of you, I think, are going to have a lot of community type goals, right? Who's going to be able to access your product? What else can your service provide? I love this from a lot of farms, because since the growing season in New England is so short, right? You got to find ways to kind of generate income through the off season being not the growing season. And so a lot of people do wreath making. You can grow the materials on your farm. You can buy them in and still have a wreath making class. There's lots of different ways to generate some income in the off season. Our farm will offer wreath making classes on the weekends in November and December 2024 for up to 25 customers. Pretty straightforward, something you can do. I got a time with it. If I write it down, 95% sure that I'll actually get it done. Here's some other ways of incorporating your community into some of your goals. And Arthur, I think you talked about WIC and, oh, what was the other one? Did you talk about senior farm shares? Anyway, there's, different ways of helping your community, especially if you're in a more rural and maybe less economically secure area. Sliding scales is a really powerful tool. And if you're not familiar with that, you essentially so say you have a CSA share and your normal price for the share is like $600, and you're going to get 12 weeks of fruits and vegetables through the growing season. And you get that paid, in May. You could say, hey, you can do that one in a couple of different ways. You can say we have smaller shares. You can get 10 weeks, or you could get a half share, and you lower the price for that. I've also seen very powerfully done where you do a sliding scale based on your income, and it's just a self-reported income. And I don't know, honestly, of any time where somebody has just tried to scam and say, well, I really don't make any money, so I just want to pay $50 for 12 weeks. I haven't heard of that happening. It probably could, but most people, if you give them the option, they're going to be pretty honest about it and say, look, I can really afford $350, and still get my 12 weeks. And it kind of works out because the people that are paying $600, you can always say, and would you want to contribute to someone who's, having to pay less for that sliding scale? You probably wouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised at how generous people will be, and that ends up coming back to the farmer, and the farmer is just able to do that much more with their food and their property and their land. Senior Farm Shares is a really cool program in Maine. I'm not sure where it is in other parts of New England, but the government will pay the farmer $50 per senior. And you essentially, so the senior, and it's a low income senior, they can get $50 worth of food from you. And they're not paying the $50, but you're still getting paid the $50, from the government. You can do donations. You can call gleaning organizations to come in and glean after, there's always some leftover food in the field that you just either seconds or just never got to it, overgrown. These organizations will come out and do the harvesting for you essentially, and take that food and donate it to other people who would benefit from it, or to soup kitchens, or put it into value added, make soups out of the zucchini or something. You can be an educational resource. You can hire or bring on interns to your farm. You can bring in apprentices. If you guys aren't familiar with WWOOFers, they're the worldwide organization for organic farms or something like that. But they're people from all over the world. You're on a general website, a global website, and you just put your farm name and information down and how many people you can support, and they will come. They kind of, you talk to them, you have an interview process, and they will come and work on your farm. And so they're getting the experience. You house them, but they essentially work for no pay. And they'll have some requirements, right? They do need to eat food, and, you can give them some food and stuff like that. Be careful, because we had some woofers that came on. We didn't accept them, but they came on and they said, we had a place for them to stay, but they wanted, internet access out there, which was fine. We had another little cabin, and then they wanted, each of them needed exactly 3 pounds of high quality meat every day, and like 1 pound of butter, of a farm girl. It was a really weird request, and they were like super demanding. We're like, I'm not sure we want to have people on our farm that are telling us that specifically, and maybe that was wrong on our part, but I don't know, it just kind of felt weird. So we said, no, thank you, good luck, find another place to go. Okay. And so for a lot of these, especially for WIC and for the senior farm shares, there is some training that is involved. So kind of that's why I put that little example down there. By May of 2024, I will complete the training necessary to accept WIC at my farm stand. So if there's any of these organizations, these kind of community support things that you want to get into, make sure you contact your local ordinance, people who are in charge of that and see what kind of training is needed for that. And then environmental, that's pretty self-explanatory. So some pitfalls, like try not to make your goals too lofty. Like, year one, although Murray, it sounds like you're going to be able to do it, but that 500,000, that's pretty lofty. I think you said it was in 5 years, right, Murray?
Sorry. Yep. 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. So maybe if he had said 500,000 in year one, that would be one of those things that you want to try to avoid. So he's applied some knowledge and understanding of that industry, to know that it's doable, in 5 years. Try not to do too many things at once. I think I've talked to you guys about how we did a lot and it just kind of got a little overwhelming. And so we had to, squeeze back. It's much easier to expand than it is to contract just in your farm business, I found. Try not to, overemphasize the quantitative aspects, which means don't try to always put a dollar sign against it, right? If you do the quality and you do the community things and you stick to your values, the money will follow. It is you, like I did say, you need to know what your numbers are, so you need to get to those numbers. But I think this is more of just like, hey, it's not all about the money. Like we're all in this for other reasons. I would say more lofty reasons. Try not to leave yourself vulnerable to unexpected events. You're in this class as a risk mitigation technique. And so that's perfect, right? That's what we're trying to do, is minimize risk. So you have to understand what risks are there so that you can identify what needs to be done in order to avoid those risks. Try not to fail to use all information. Try not to make goals without using all your decision makers, and try not to ignore good plans once you develop them, right? We're doing a lot of work right now. You guys are in this program, going to make a lot of headspace progress. Don't ignore all that. When you develop your crop plan, don't ignore the crop plan. Follow the crop plan. You're making the plan for a reason. Okay, so this is the what I want you to do now, and I don't think we need to break out into rooms, but let's go ahead and spend let's do 15 minutes. Okay, Trisha, and you can turn your cameras off. Just spend some time making SMART goals. Pick two of these areas, 2 or 3. In 15 minutes, you can probably do several in one of those little categories. I'll leave this up, and come back with a SMART goal in at least 2 of those categories. Does that make sense? If anybody has questions, let me know. Okay, cool. Can you share? Got the recording going back on. Thanks. Kelly, can you share one of your goals with us?
I haven't started anything yet, so this is very, very simple. My goal is by spring of 2025, I will have grown vegetable seedlings and sell them at a roadside stand, which will help financially help me care for the plants that I do plant in the ground.
That's perfect. It's specific, it's time bound, measure it, it's achievable, and it's relevant to what you want to do. Good job.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, Eric, how about you? Eric Martins. There's 2 Martins, 2 of you, 1 of me, 1 Martin, 2 Martins.
So mine is to buy land within 2 years.
Okay, how much land?
At least 10 acres.
All right, what kind of land?
Hopefully there's a lot of old farms for sale in Maine, so I'm hoping I can get a hold of one of those.
Are you
So
looking to
have to clear the land, things like that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so cleared land, good. Cleared arable land. You can be a little more specific in your goal. Are you looking to grow there or just run livestock? Not just run livestock.
I actually want to have some hoop houses or some hot houses and grow plants to start and sell seedlings. That's what
Okay.
I'm going to start doing.
Perfect. Perfect. So just in that little discussion, Eric's got a lot of little goals, right, that he can meet and that can be specific and you can measure them. He's got them time bound. I love that you've got, are you in Maine right now, Eric?
Yeah, I'm in Bangor currently, and I've looked at some places before taking this class. I've been looking around at land with a realtor, and we'll see what happens.
Have you been taught about web soil survey yet, everybody?
No.
Trisha, is that going to be part of the class? Oh, okay, you're on mute. I do want to break into this then, because if you haven't found land yet, I am again, I'm going to demand something that I can't enforce nor gauge if you've actually done it, but there's a program called Web Soil Survey, and we're going to break from previously scheduled activities here because this is really, really, really important. Okay, well, I gotta get this out of the way. So web soil, yeah, right. See right here, web soil survey .nrcs if you want to grab that email address for everybody. And Trisha, web soil survey .nrcs.usda.gov, blah blah blah. Just do a Google search for web soil survey. This is key. If you haven't found land yet, and if you're getting ready to buy land, you're going to go here and you're going to press this green button that says start web soil survey. And what this does, the U.S. Geologic Survey group has captured and translated all data about soil throughout the United States. So if you have a property that you're looking at, and let's just do, oh my God. I forgot the address of my farm, you guys. Been away from it for a couple of years. This is crazy. It's on Jackson Road. Oh, I'm just gonna make something up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember that. It must be stage fright. That's something last. Anyway, that's the farm right there. Okay, so what you'll do is you set an area of interest, and let's just go over here. I'm just gonna do a general blah 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 that area. It's creating the area of interest, and what you can do there, and then you'll go into the soil map tab up here, and it will tell you what kind of soil you have in those areas. All right, so we've got Marlow fine, sandy loam, 23%. And then when you click into this, you can click onto that and it will give you the data about the particular farmland classification. So that particular area is not prime farmland, right? Of that little spot that I picked there. So let me look at an MB, where's our good farmland? Let's do MBC. Farmland of statewide importance. So that's the classification. It'll tell you what the frost-free period is. This is a really great website, you guys. Even if you have land, use this to understand kind of where. See, you see all this. I mean, even on one property, right? There's all different types of soil. And so this is MBC. This is where we did some growing here. We did a lot of growing there, and it was just okay. But we did the majority of our growing back here. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Is that helpful, you guys? Yeah, so especially like Eric guys that are looking at farmland, please do that before you launch. I mean, you can always make, soil amendments, go to Murray, help him get to his $500,000 in 5 years, buy soil amendments from him. You can always amend your soil and get it to the right spot. And then if you can bring in soil, for raised beds and stuff like that. But if you start at least with a good understanding of what kind of soil you're getting into, that will help your future stuff. Okay. So web soil survey. Yeah, okay, they'll probably get into it. Yeah, if you have a soils class coming up. Okay. All right, moving on. Who else has got one that they can share? Who haven't I heard from yet? Marissa, have we heard from you? Would you mind sharing one of your goals?
It's kind of funny that you just said all that because my goal was by 1 May, I will identify the best area to begin my farming activity on my property by soil testing. in consultation with the resources available through the Humane Cooperative Extension. But I
Perfect.
guess I could just go to a website. So I guess I should move my goal line up.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. That is just the macro vision, right? That web soil survey is just the macro vision. Things could have changed, building could have happened, something could have happened to that soil, but I mean that's just the macro vision. Absolutely, you're spot on. Go get your soils tested. That's 100%. Everybody needs to do that, even if you know that if the US Geologic Survey said that you have prime farmland, you still need to get your soils tested. And I'm sure you'll get that in your soils class. Okay, cool. Thank you. That was a good one. Christine, are you able to I think you're at work, so I don't know if you're able to kind of participate. How about Chris Negrati? Negrati?
Oh, sorry, I am here. I just don't really know how to use Zoom as well.
Okay.
It takes me a minute to figure it out.
Were you able to put together a goal?
Yeah, well, so I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's sure. Actually, it's kind of like a plan. So I have goals for each year.
Okay.
But in the end, I think by year 3, I'm hoping to have 1 acre of land cultivated in thirds to do rotations of organic hardneck garlic. So we're going to be planting them. So we're doing it in a permaculture style. So we're going to do interplanting and have guilds in the, like intermixed. And then, yeah, so garlic you have to have a 3-year rotation, with like mustard or brassicas. But I think in the year 1 and 2, we're gonna kind of experiment with that, like how far we can push it, because a third of an acre of brassicas might not be what we want. They're a lot to manage. So we might just have forage or, just basically do a cover crop, because it's just going to be me doing it. So, my husband will help, but I'm not relying on that. So I'm hoping we keep it manageable.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're getting it. Yeah, you're getting getting specific. So I mean, you could even break it into so that's a production goal, right? So that's because your eventual thing is about the garlic, right? And then everything else is kind of has a supporting role. Are you going to sell the brassica, the mustard greens and all that stuff too, or are those just cover crops?
Well, I think it's just going to be a cover crop, because I have a lot of I'm an artist and a writer, and I'm about to have a baby. So I've got a lot of other things also going on. So I'm trying to keep it pretty low, low input, I guess.
Yeah.
And garlic seems like a really good, we've had success with garlic, whereas everything else we've grown has had a lot of bugs and issues. So,
okay.
Yeah. But
so for you, it's even more important to have those SMART goals really identified, right? Because you want it to be as clean and as approachable and as doable as possible, right? Because you do have a lot of other things going on. So yeah, that's why we kind of do these goals this way, because that way you've got it written down and no room for wishy-washy,
Yeah.
Okay.
So just going to be our cash crop, and then we have an orchard and vegetable gardens, berry patch, all this stuff that's, if we have too much, we'll put it on a farm stand, but basically it's going to be for our friends and family. So.
And where are you located, Christine?
Oh, sorry. We're in Auburn, Maine.
Okay. All these Mainers here today. Where are the Rhode Islanders? Chris Negrati, are you in Rhode Island? I mean, I love Maine, obviously, but
yeah, I'm in Rhode Island.
All right. Can you share with us one of your SMART goals?
Yeah, so as of right now, I don't have a farm, but I would imagine I could get something like that probably within the next decade or so. My goal would be to get a few acres of land, and I would like to make sure that the land would be farmable and that it could be approved of such. Mine would be crops, so like fruits and vegetables, and one of my goals would be to see what I can achieve for the season.
All right, I'm gonna twist that on its head. You're not going to see what's going to happen. You're going to make something happen. What do you want to make happen?
I want to make happen that I are able to grow crops that can fill up the acres of land that I have.
Okay,
That I would
so
have.
cool. So through this class, you're going to figure out what those crops are, right? Because you're not just going to go grab a handful of seed and just throw it out there and see what happens. You're going to be
Yeah,
deliberate.
like my goal would be to see, like, you know, how successful am I going to be for the season? So I meant to say.
Yeah. But so I'm trying to make you be a little even more specific about what kind of crop are you going to grow? Are you going to grow corn? Are you going to grow,
I was thinking,
carrots?
I was thinking stuff like corn, potatoes,
There you
fruits
go.
like grapes, berries, that kind of thing.
Okay, good.
Or
That's
like
getting, that's
tomatoes, zucchini, that kind of stuff.
all right. That's getting more specific. Yeah. And this class is going to teach you about the cycle for a lot of those things, right? Because some of those are going to be succession planting. You're not going to plant all those at the exact same time and then end up hurting yourself at the end because they're all coming up at the same time, or
Yeah.
different seasons, different times of year, things have to go
No, I
in, some
gotcha.
things like,
Yep.
yeah. So cool. All right. So you're going to get all that. All right. Okay. So the next step then, after we've got our vision, got your mission. Now you've got some objectives and some goals that you have set for yourselves within those, production, finances, all that. Did anybody have a human capital goal that they wanted to set, like something that they're doing with either their family, their community? Anybody have a goal in there? Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Okay.
I do.
Ariana, thank you.
The community is more focused towards my family, and then anything that's in excess, I would like to sell it at the farmers markets and at the roadside and everything like that. I basically want to be able to provide a sustainable future for my children. So that's the major.
Is that one of them in the background that's going to be
your
my
farmer? Toddler. I keep having to keep the camera off and on.
Toddlers make the best farm helpers, and then you train them to eat their vegetables early, right? And it's just
yeah,
amazing.
he's one of the main snackers.
Perfect. Sweet peas, those are the best. Okay. All right, thanks you guys. Nice job. Okay, so let's go. So we've got the objectives, and now we're going to move into the strategies, right? Now these are the things that you're going to be doing. You're starting to get into thinking about the actions that you're going to be taking. This is not doing the actions yet, but this is about what is my strategy on how I'm going to reach all these goals that I have. And I've just thought about and written down some of these goals. I've got some timelines that I need to hit. So how am I going to actually build this business? And so the strategies are the things that are going to help you set the direction, your philosophy. We hear a lot about values. I keep harping on values. Because if you have that why, you have those core values, and then everything just kind of expands from that, then you will be successful. You guys have done some great job of identifying and thinking about who your ideal clients are going to be. Now we're talking about how are you going to attract them? We know that I want health conscious people. How are they going to find out I exist and that our farm exists and that we're here to help them? We're here to help them and their family. How are you going to do that? So these are the things that you're going to want to think about. Think about your products, your services, your business model. Can anybody kind of share with me what they think a business model means? What might be a business model within the farming community?
I think about like the split between focusing on wholesale versus retail.
Yep, that's it. That's a model, right? You could do only wholesale, you could do only retail, you could do only CSAs, you could do only farmers markets, or you can do a combination of all. I highly recommend doing a combination of all. For those veterans in the group, we talk a lot about integrated air defense. That's what I think of farming as, an integrated marketing defense. You have to be able to have, I feel like you should have a bunch of different marketing channels of where you can sell your produce. So if COVID hits and you can't go to the farmer's market anymore, how are you going to sell those vegetables? Okay. So yeah, exactly. That's what, thank you, Arthur. That's what a business model is. You're going to be establishing or your strategy could establish guidelines for how you're evaluating some important decisions that you need to make. And it can also set limits on what your business will do or will not do. And I think we've kind of alluded to this a couple of times, right? There's a lot of things that can distract us. I know somebody just talked about that earlier, about going off in a bunch of different directions. But focus is a good thing to keep in mind if you want to have a successful business. And you can always add on, but get really good at one thing, and then get really good at two things, and then get really good at three things, and add those all up together. So where does success come from? This is just, stuff for you guys to think about. Think about, where have you been successful in the past? And then how can you expand upon that? Brent talked about being a public affairs officer. So he's probably been very successful at doing that marketing thing. And then how is he going to either pivot or expand upon those experiences and those successes that he's had in the past and translate that into his farming business? And equally as important is, what were your past mistakes? Where did you kind of not do what would have made you successful? And then, what have you learned from that, and what can you do to change that? Do you have some ideas that you haven't acted upon? I think that's why, coming into farming so late in life, I had all these ideas building up for years and years and years about the bees and the chickens and and that's why, it kind of expanded into that. But I did it a little too soon, but I could have been if I had taken a class like this, then I would have been a little bit more deliberate and said, okay, we're going to do bees this year. And then the next year we're going to do, maple syrup. And I just, again, kind of be really good at one thing, one thing at a time, and then build upon that. And then you also want to think about where what and where are the opportunities. I mean, a lot of you you're already kind of thinking all these things. I'm just giving you new vocabulary to work with them and ways to think about it. So where are the new opportunities? This is really a SWOT analysis. Have you guys done that before? You got your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So where are those opportunities? Moms with small kids, stay-at-home moms with small kids, and they're an opportunity and somebody that I can market to. Where are the threats? People are, inflation is really high right now. People are, frustrated about how much, everything costs. So that's a threat to our business, right? Because we are expecting people to pay us. That's where the sliding scale might come in handy, because you're going to have some people that have more income than others, and they may be willing to share, what they're out of their abundance, to help other people. So these are some of the things that you're going to want to kind of keep in mind as you're developing, like how am I going to get my business to work? Right? What can I pull from in my past? Successes and failures. What do I know about my future, right? The opportunities, the threats, and how am I going to, work a strategy that's going to help me reach my goals? So the simple formula for figuring out your strategy and writing that on your one-page business plan is identifying what your business building activity or goal is, and then how it will be done. Okay, so let's say these are some examples down here. My business building activity or my goal is to generate repeat sales. Okay, so that's my goal. I'm going to get some repeat sales customers. How am I going to do that? What's my strategy? I'm going to implement some loyalty programs and some monthly specials and do some limited promotions. I'm going to do 2-for-1 corn. I'm going to do 3-for-5 zucchini. I'm going to just start doing some different ways of this is getting into the realm of marketing. This is how I'm going to, that's the strategy I'm going to use to generate some repeat sales. Kind of along the same lines, right? I want to expand my client base. Last year I had about 10 folks buy CSAs from me. This year, I'm going to co-market with some other farms. What that means is, say there's a really another farm in my community that's knocking their CSA out of the park. I'm gonna approach them and say, hey, how would you like to include eggs with your farm shares? And they're going to say, most likely, if they don't have eggs, they're going to say that would be great. And so I'm going to produce, I'm going to provide for their weekly farm shares. Let's say I'm going to give them 30 dozen eggs every week, and they're going to sell that along with their own CSA with my sticker on it. And with, people understand that those eggs are coming from my farm. Right? That's kind of like a little co-marketing thing. You can do special events. Agritourism is huge, especially since COVID. People want to get out and go see farms, goat yoga, right? Or just having people come over and look at how you, feed your pigs or how you irrigate your landing. You can become publicly known locally through public speaking. You can write articles in your local newspaper about, farming or CSA shares or, how to raise bees. I mean, there's a lot of ways to kind of get your personality out there, to support your values and also to get your name known, all the time. Make sure that they know that you're associated with Chase Stream Farm or whichever farm it is, because it's, I think someone said that earlier today is people are buying you for a lot of it. They want to know your story. I think it was Danielle, right? They want to know your story. They want to know who you are. They want to know what your values are, because your values probably align with their values and they want to support that. My family knows not that Starbucks is bad in and of itself, but I think they've had enough. And I feel like, there's a lot of locally owned, awesome coffee shops that I would much rather support than the big conglomerate corporate ones. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to do this. I'm going to put you guys into 5 breakout rooms. So hopefully that limits the number of empties, and talk about your strategies. This one you're going to write it down into your 1-pager, but I would love you guys to kind of share with each other what you're trying to achieve, and then how you're going to achieve it. Okay. All right. Let me break out rooms, recreate this into 5. Highlighted.
We talked about, I had 3 great veterans on there, and we talked a lot about, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We talked a lot about opportunities for veterans and things like that. So we really didn't get to too many strategies as far as that, but a lot of people. One guy's just starting, Eric, there, and looking into homesteading. So we got on the whole homesteading topic, and so we went a little off track there.
That's okay. That's okay. As long as you guys are talking to each other and just thinking, this will all the sediment will settle out. And because really this is, like I said, this 1-pager is really a precursor to your bigger business plan. So it's just kind of a way to get you to think about some things that are really important about how you're going to move forward. Anybody else got some cool strategies about how they're going to make themselves known in their little part of the world?
Caitlin and I were talking about agritourism, and I'm going to be growing dahlias. And I thought one good strategy would be to do like a dinner with the dahlias or date night with the dahlias.
I love it.
They have little picnic benches out in the field, and bring a bottle of wine, and make it around like sunset. Hopefully the bugs aren't too bad.
Yeah.
Because I heard they can carry you away up in Maine.
And they bite you. They just make you bleed.
We'll have to see the mosquito situation, but I was picturing something like that. And that's a good way of, involving the community, getting, people over to the farm, getting exposure. But also, then they can see the dahlias, and then maybe come tuber time. When I sell the tubers, they can buy the tubers from me. Or the cut flowers, they can bring, they could take a bucket of flowers home with them, that type of thing, or have them, they could pick their own flowers. So lots of kind of extra opportunity there to make some money, and, and it would be like a small venue. What I don't want, and what my husband definitely doesn't want, he's more of a private person. I'm very outgoing, as you can tell. He doesn't want people like tromping all over the farm.
Yep.
It would have to be like a
Totally
small
understood.
for his comfort level, that type of thing.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good that you're taking his opinions into consideration because that could get pretty scary. No, I totally get it. That sounds lovely. I'm there. Yeah. I mean, anytime you can get people to come to your farm, you guys, even if it's just a very controlled path, right? If you want to do a pick your own we did a pick your own in our strawberry high tunnel because we had strawberries ready in April, like late March, early or April timeframe, and they were so sweet and succulent, and people were just lining up to come, pick some strawberries. But that did get a little frustrating because people started stepping, where they weren't supposed to be stepping. So, and we shut it down to like, okay, friends and family, because they would pick everything they needed anyway. Yeah. So anytime you can get people to come to your farm, they love it. But it's a double-edged sword because then people are on your farm, and I remember one time I was in one of our high tunnels and the door was closed, my music was on, and I'm in there waiting, and somebody opens my door to my high tunnel, and it feels very invasive. It feels like, hey, this is my home. You just like walked into my home. Who the hell are you and why are you here? They're like, oh, we heard you sold kimchi. I'm like, yeah, at a farmer's market, get off my property. It was, so you can kind of double-edged sword. Anyway, okay, so I want to get you guys onto your days. So let's go ahead and get to the last step. And no more breakout rooms. But essentially, once you've identified, and I guess I need to share my screen, don't I? Once you have, I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. So we've got our vision, got our mission, got our objectives, our goals of like what we need to do to reach our mission, our vision. And then we just talked about your strategies and how you're going to get there. Now, taking that strategy, now we're going down one deeper level. Now, what kind of work do I need to do? Like all that stuff has been mind thinking, like really cool ideas, and I'm getting more specific and more time bound. And now I'm at the point where I'm saying, okay, now what am I actually going to do? And this is the meat and potatoes. This is the actual doing. This is the operating of what you're going to do in order to reach your vision. So hopefully you see how that all kind of plays together. And it's as simple as, so we previously had our business building ideas and our activities previously. This is the actual project. And then you add to that the launch or the completion date. So you're already in one. You guys didn't even know it. You're already executing on your business plan, right? By completing this Boots to Bushels. And I think you're going to go until August or September, whenever. But the complete Boots to Bushels by August. That's an actual action that you can do. That's something physical, tangible, measurable, and you're going to do it. Maybe you have another goal of identifying whether you're going to be a sole proprietor or you're going to start an LLC. So maybe one of your goals is, or one of your actions is to establish your business entity by March of 2024. It's not that hard to do. You contact your Secretary of State in your particular state, and you look at, business formation. You form your business, and then you get your bank account after you get your business formed. Maybe another goal you talked about, maybe one of your strategies is to go ahead and cooperate, with with another farm and to be part of their CSA as an add-on. And so one of your action steps is going to be to actually contact those farms and say, hey, how, can we form a partnership together? And, you can say, I'm going to want to do that. I want to have that done by April. All right. So those are actual action plans. And as a reminder, this is what today, at least intellectually, what we've done today. And you could go back and physically do this so that you don't forget all the stuff that you just kind of went through today. Write your vision statement down, got your mission statement. This is for your overarching big picture of what your farm business is going to look like. And then we start breaking it down. You can write up to 9 goals that you need to do, and it can be in each one of those categories of production, environmental, finances, you pick it. This is your business. And then you're going to want to break that down even further into, okay, what are the strategies that I'm going to do in order to, get my finances to that goal that I had, or what's the strategy I'm going to do to meet my production goal. And then you break that strategy down. Now, what do I have to do? What's my action that I have to take in order to make those strategies support the objectives, that support my mission, that support my vision. Okay, we did it with almost 20 minutes to spare. Any thoughts, questions, comments, how to make this better? What would, is this something that useful that you guys will, was this a helpful exercise to kind of get you thinking about where your business is going to go and what you need to do? Did it
Yeah.
suck?
I thought, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Arthur.
I thought the objectives were really helpful. I got a bunch. I'm kind of having trouble. I'm not sure if maybe my objectives were too specific, but I feel like I feel like they almost are strategies and action plans in of themselves.
Okay.
Like I've got like build and drive traffic to a roadside farm stand by June 1st. So I guess like a strategy there could be like expand social media presence to like help drive that traffic. But
Okay.
I don't know if like I just like other things that I've got, like have a succession planting plan. Like that almost seems like it's an objective, but it also seems kind of like an action plan too. Like I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's something that
Yeah,
other people are
no,
feeling.
that's definitely an object. It's the goal. You're having that crop plan is the specific goal. And then how the strategy of how you're going to do that. Like, how do you know how to do a succession planning? Do you know how to do all that crop planning already, or did you learn how to do that? I mean, that kind of assumes that you didn't know how to do it, maybe, and then you have to learn how to do it. And then
Gotcha.
the action behind that is actually, do the studying, look up the books, look up the YouTube video, go to the Boot to Bushels class that has that actual education and the training part of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
you're
kind of-
really diving down to like what I do,
Yeah.
like hours of work versus
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, well, hopefully that just at least got your brain juices flowing, and that's the idea. And then you can go and you can write that one pager. Like I said, I do recommend you kind of capture some of these thoughts because time goes and then you kind of forget, like, okay, what I stay focused. So that is all I had for today. Trisha, did you have anything else?
Yes, thank you. And you have a comment that just says, thank you for the valuable information, Anne.
Oh, you're welcome. Of course.
So yeah, I just want to let the class know that next week we will be meeting same time, same place. And we're gonna have Matt LaRoe from Cornell going over marketing. And then the Carrot Project, we'll talk about their program, and Farm Credit East. So I will be sending out some emails. Looks like I have another comment. Thank you. Sending out some emails, so take a look at those. And if you have any questions or follow-ups, you can always email me. And then there is a homework assignment. I would like for you to go onto Brightspace and submit your one-page business plan, preferably by next week. And if you don't have access to Brightspace yet because you enrolled a little bit late, then you can just email that to me. Any questions at this time? No? Seeing none? Like Anne said. Okay, great. Well, have a great week and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Great session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Murray, where is your farm in Connecticut?
It's just north of Norwich. It's a little town called Sprague, Connecticut.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, that's a hike.
Yeah, it's 1 hour from where I live, almost exactly 1 hour on 138, and where 138 terminates is just about where I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got family in like Gales Ferry area.
Okay, sure.
So we end up there often. So are you gonna move there eventually?
You know, it's interesting, and that I was going to ask you this at some point, but maybe I could ask you now. There is an old farmhouse, very old. It's the oldest house, somebody said, in the town of Sprague, which has been abandoned for the last couple of decades. So I'm kind of pursuing getting it listed on the National Register and rehabilitating it, but it's a huge project. I mean, as if I don't have enough projects with the farm.
Right.
But here's the question for you. I've been talking to local state legislators, talking to the USDA about some of their programming in the state of Connecticut about farmer housing, farmer on-farm agricultural housing for veterans. So I'm really looking for potential partners that might be interested in turning the housing into veteran farming. Excuse me, farming for veteran farmers. Housing for veteran farmers.
Okay, we got there together. Okay. So, I haven't heard anything about that specifically. There is someone at URI who is a grad student who is doing a project on that similar thing, getting housing for veterans and like a farmer co-op together. So I wonder if that person might have some resources for you.
Yeah, interesting. I was actually given his name by Tricia Anderson from the USDA. She said that I should give that gentleman a call or send him an email or something.
Have you? Yeah.
I haven't yet. No,
not
she
yet.
gave it to me last week, and I haven't yet reached out to him.
Okay, because he's doing a project up, I believe, in like Providence or Pawtucket. Maybe
she did intimate that it was somewhere in Rhode Island, but maybe he'd have contacts in Connecticut that he could share.
Yeah. Can you reach out to him, see what he has to say?
Yeah,
and
I'll copy you as well, just in case there's some interesting information.
Sure, great. And then I will brainstorm a little bit. That's a new question for me. And see.
And I can't employ anybody right now as to where I am, but I'm hoping that within a year's time, or maybe a little bit longer, the revenues will be such that I need to hire somebody as well.
Okay, there's SkillBridge. Do you know about that program?
No, I don't.
Are you a veteran? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, I can't remember everyone.
Right. Yep.
Yet I will. So SkillBridge is a program. I think it's like SkillBridge DoD, maybe. If you look it up, I can look it up too. But you can get listed on their website so that somebody who is ETSing within 6 months can spend their last 6 months doing training. So they could come work on your farm.
Oh, interesting.
And the military will pay them.
Oh, very cool.
They have to get a commander to write to it, like sign off on it, all of that. But
right.
It is a program available. And if you want more information, Joe Ricker is the one that told me about that. He works with Maine Agribility. He was a wonderful resource. He is a veteran. I believe he's in Maine right now. Who owns, I think, several farms and employs veterans.
And what's his name again?
Joe Ricker. And I can connect you.
That'd be great.
I can send an email connecting Marie, and it's probably going to be tomorrow. I'm going to do some follow-up emails tomorrow. Marie Gates with Joe.
That's excellent. Yeah, my state senator is a veteran, and she's I think leads the VFW in that part of the Connecticut, and very, very, very good supporter of veterans. And she was the one that first suggested the idea of potentially turn it into veteran farmer housing. That was a good one.
It'd be interesting to see what kind of resources there would be to support like the transformation of that.
Yeah, and Connecticut has a pretty well, I don't know if it might be too early for me to say it's robust, but there's a veteran farmers chapter in Connecticut, which seems to be pretty active.
The Veteran Farmer Coalition? Or something else?
I think it is the Veteran Farmer Coalition. It's somehow tied in with the Department of Agriculture in Connecticut.
Okay.
So if you actually call, I think you start by talking to somebody within the Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
But they've gotten USDA funding to promote veteran grown marketing and things like that.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the same. It might be. And Anne started a new chapter of the Veteran Farmer Coalition out in California, and she and I were talking in one of the breaks about having one started in Rhode Island.
Oh, cool.
That would be
Cool.
me.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Well, I'll let you get going.
Okay, well, thank you
No.
for staying on for a little bit, and always interested in chatting on different ideas.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good
Take-
one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.